All right, y'all, we're back with a follow-up to the safety block function test video we posted just over a month ago. I wanted to be a bit more clear on what we were looking for and give a bit more history or background information, so that way we can be as fair as to the people in the alleged incidents as possible, as well as Sig Sauer themselves. I don't believe video is the best format, although it's still great supporting material for what we are discussing specifically. So we have also put together an accompanying article for the video. You can view this at rangerival.com/resources or by clicking the link in the description. My editor happily pointed out to me a few things while I was putting this together that I missed about the P320. One of the most obvious and cool factors being that this is essentially just a striker fired P250. Just showing you that it's safe here. It's got the same ergonomics and kind of design. And the big popularity with the P250 was the fact that it had a modular fire control unit in the single action only system. This being the SIG's first striker fire, it made sense for them to go to the P250. I think this had some pros, such as playing off an already effective and popular design, but this also came with some negatives due to a lack of addressing a few key issues. So let's go to the alleged discharges. So the point of this video, the uncommanded discharge, is why this thing may not be safe because it possibly can be fired by itself, which is not completely true on its own. It's never going to be sitting stationary just like this and go pow. Mainly the concern comes from either dropping it or inertia forces or reholstering, because there seems to be a myriad of issues that might possibly cause this to go bang. The uncommanded discharges. So many are quick to say this is a tension or a cash grab, but the reality is a lot of us are just upset that there is clearly something going on and that it is not a norm for the safety in the firearm community. Some of us are mad that we have over $1,400 invested into a platform that, not counting ammo, and no longer have a way of reclaiming that money. As if I truly think there is a potentially dangerous issue here and it's dangerous to me or the people around me, why would I consciously peddle this off to somebody else? It's essentially a paperweight in my eyes, or a nice looky-loo, until something has been addressed thoroughly, transparently, and completely. Going back to some of the comments on our last video, there were many to claim that this has never been proven in court or that the incident isn't repeatable for some reason. Both these claims are just false. If we were to be transparent, SIG has both won and lost cases in this issue. A class action lawsuit is the only reason why we have the voluntary upgrade program at all. And that feels egregious given it's not a performance upgrade, but a safety upgrade. In the automotive or agricultural industries, they call this a recall, and it's mandatory for consumer safety. Additionally, there are a myriad of creators who have not proven without a doubt that the P320 was initially not drop safe. I mean, there's so many people that have put empty primered casings into their 320 and then just literally dropped it on the ground and got it to snap back. So I think that's just a silly claim. If you do have a P320, please use the link provided in the article to check your serial number to see if it's eligible for the upgrade. It won't guarantee your P320 will be safer, but it is almost certainly safer than it would be without the normal manual disconnect or properly machined parts. I would say I I would say that it solves a big concern of inertia moving the trigger shoe or the striker, because a lot of these parts are lighter or they're better machined. There's an actual disconnect in the upgrade. So I would definitely do it if you have a P320, but there's a couple other reasons why I still think that this may not be a great design. I go into the very, very nitty gritty details on the article, so you're going to have to go click that to see those specifically. We'll address a couple of the major potential flaws here after I give SIG's position, but if you want every myriad of detail, go check out that article. SIG has remained steadfast on the fact that the P320 has always been drop safe, and that the videos circulating showing P320s discharging their holster are specifically gear or operator related. The most recent Achilles heel video was addressed by Bruce Gray himself, offering to inspect and investigate the incident. While I think this is a normal standard procedure for RMA, especially because that 320 specifically had Gray industry performance parts in it, it feels as if this is a way they're trying to use this as a way of clearing their name indefinitely. by having it in their hands and being able to do the investigation and make the claim, kind of like what they've done without having the guns in hand the last, I don't know, X amount of times. But Bruce also said that the P320s, without a doubt, were drop safe. He supported Sig's argument. He said this all the way through. So I would trust his investigation just about as much as his opinion without the gun. It would be very nice to get some actual engineers or independent investigators on this, because if they could truly prove without a doubt this is a safe firearm, that'd make me very happy. This is a very beautiful gun, and I'll kind of get to that in my experience here in a little bit. I do love this gun. I just don't feel comfortable around it anymore. So let's get on to the function testing. While it's hard to say exactly what the issue is, given the actual discharge to occur, you'd have to have multiple fail points. It's possible to assure that your striker safety isn't going to fail in the event of another failure. The best set of videos I have found so far came from two P320s in a trench coat, where he demonstrated how to drop the striker safety, or how to drop the striker and check for protrusion past the striker safety block with your barrel removed. This is better done, as some have pointed out in the last video, with an empty casing. I did it by just videoing with a high-speed camera to see if the striker would come past the face. If it came past the face, I would have done the primer case test next, but because I never saw the striker once, I just deemed it not an issue and considered this one probably one of the more safer P320s out there. Let's see here. I unfortunately don't have any primer cases on hand to demonstrate that one for you. But again, I think mine's safe, so I don't think it would have popped anyways. In Trenchcoat's video, he was able to consistently trip the striker to protrude past the safety block in one of the two P320s that he tested. Again, other creators have been able to trip the striker by dropping it and having a primered empty casing, but apparently there's no evidence or repeated results of this. Potential flaws. So what's the actual issue? The two things that seem primarily concerned with is the trigger/trigger bar design in combination with the striker/striker block safety design. Again, the trigger Sig initially designed had a safety blade similar to the one that you see on Glocks here. So that little blade here, let's just go ahead and cock this, show you that's empty as well. But as you can see, there's a little safety blade here that if I were to try to pull the trigger from the side here, nothing's going to work. But once you actuate the safety blade, the trigger works. The original P320s also shipped with a 675 trigger bar. So if you open yours up, it likely has a 576 trigger bar in it now. If yours has a 675, you're due for the voluntary upgrade program. This required much less force to actually actuate the trigger. I think it had something to do with one of the connector designs being a little slimmer. So it required just less inertia to essentially trip. Not only that, the trigger shoe design, this is obviously the skeletonized trigger, so it's not going to be a great example. But on the stock P320s, were a little bit heavier, so that required less inertia to get the same force, obviously, actuated on it. These two things would definitely have helped with the inertia type forces jarring the gun and dropping the striker safety at all. But then when you look at the striker safety design itself, the P320 has a fully cocked striker, meaning that you don't require any press of the trigger to actually cock that striker farther back. All you're doing is basically releasing it. And the trigger is removing that safety block so that way the striker can move, freely past the channel. That feels like a very weird design. It's much like trying to shoot at a bulletproof vest, it feels like. Because if you look at the striker safety design on a Glock, for example, you have, and I'll address this because there's a lot of people are going to say, well, you don't have a fully cocked striker. It's not fair. The trigger doesn't feel as good. One second. You have a couple internal safeties here. Not only do you have the dingus safety to make sure that it can't be pulled without hitting the middle, you also have two internal safeties, one being a trigger bar that doesn't move until the actual trigger is pulled itself, that pushes a channel so that way it can put an opening for the striker to go through. So it's basically a notched, or not, notch is not the right word. It's got a hole directly through this bar that goes up and down like a plunger that moves with the trigger bar. And if the trigger hasn't been actuated at all, the striker is just going to hit the end of that bar. It can't even reach past. It's not like it's going to slip by, or it might accidentally round it off after a few thousand rounds or whatever. It's not going to slip by that way. It actually has to be presented with an opening before the striker can move forward. It's a completely different design. Now, you want a fully cocked striker. That's beautiful, because there are a lot of aftermarket trigger systems made for Glock, such as this performance trigger, that essentially turns your striker into a fully cocked striker, just like the P320 we have there. And the benefit of that is that you get that same, let's hopefully not break your Glock. Nothing like breaking your Glock. There we go. And the result you get is that same crisp trigger pull that you wouldn't necessarily get on a stock Glock. Is it any less safe? Arguably it is, because you don't have to pull the trigger or that striker all the way back, but it's not the same kind of dangerous as the 320, because you still have to be presented with an opening for that striker to go through. If there's no opening, even if the striker's dropped, it's just going to hit the bar. Same thing in the 320. If the striker block is not actuated with the trigger, it's supposed to stop the striker from hitting, but it's really just getting out of the way. It's kind of like, I'm here, I'm not here. I'm here, I'm not here. Where it needs to be like, you may pass, you may not pass, which is a huge difference to me anyways. So what's my Sig Sauer experience? Because I've said a lot of negative things here. I don't know really where to start, because this is not a quick attention or a bait for attention, or I don't hate Sig. In reality, I really like Sig Sauer's guns. I think they make a lot of great ergonomically engineered pieces. I think that it's a little all over the board sometimes. It's not like some things are really bad and some things are really good. It's just like, I really like some things and I really don't like some things. The P320 is the first one I feel like I've had like an actual concern with from a standpoint of manufacturing. My main concern about the P320 being that I've put 10,000 rounds through mine and have been shooting it around other people in training and at other competitions and whatnot, because again, really do like the gun. It has a very crisp trigger. It's the closest thing you can probably get to a 2011 feel in a striker fire, before actually biting the bullet and moving up to a 2011. So as a gun itself, it's beautiful, but just feels a little dangerous compared to, you know, some of the other things that they release. The P365, this is a beautiful piece. If you open this up here, so let's go ahead and take the slides off the P365 here and the P320. Well, let's see what Sig Sauer has learned from their first experience. Now, I know these are different and different sized guns, but what's the main thing that you see? I think that would be the room for these parts to flex. But overall, they make really great guns. And while I'm not a big fan of the Spear, the MPX is really cool. And Sig Sauer itself, I think, is a great brand. And that's why I think I'm extra offended that they won't address this properly. If you guys have any counter arguments, or you felt like I said anything was wrong in this video, feel free to comment it down below. I have no problem correcting it or adding it to my article. I appreciate everybody that supported the first video, and I hope that everybody stays safe. Have a great weekend. And lastly, they updated your P320 manuals. It's no longer considered safe to carry with one in the chamber ever. Good luck with that.